Red Sox general manager Dave Dombrowski sent shockwaves through day 2 of the winter meetings. To a rotation which already includes David Price and reigning AL Cy Young winner Rick Porcello, Dombrowski has now added Chris Sale, sending 4 of the Red Sox top prospects to the White Sox in exchange for the ace lefty. That quartet includes the top overall prospect in all of baseball, infielder Yoan Moncada, as well as the Red Sox 5th-ranked prospect, hard-throwing right-hander Michael Kopech. But the hefty investment has landed Boston one of the game's elite starters, as the 27-year-old Sale has been a top 5 finisher in Cy Young voting each of the last 4 seasons.
Done it before. Here's the 0-1. This is going to be a tough play. Bryant, the Cubs win the World Series. Bryant makes the play. It's over, and the Cubs have finally won it all. 8-7-10.
Play ball.
What is going on, friends? I am here in the studio, live, getting ready for the second half of the baseball season, and I couldn't do that without my best friend, Paul Chivari. He's coming from us from BrewSportsNet.com through Brew Sports Network, and we are here to talk about his love, my love, baseball. Paul, how has the first half been for you, brother?
Oh, thanks for having me, Mike. It's first time that we've ever kind of collaborated on this this sort of venture, so I'm just happy to be here, happy to talk some baseball with you, and I think everyone will finally get a glimpse of what it's like when we work together and talk little Cubs and Sox.
And the only thing is now we're very constrained with time because there's only so much we can talk about in so little time, but that's the thing, Paul, every single time we get into the studio, right now we're actually here live at the World Radio Studios that you and I work to produce, board up, and all that. But for anybody, again, looking for any of our work, you can see all of Paul's stuff at BrewSportsNet.com or Brew Sports Network. I'm over at Mercado Airwaves. Follow us on Twitter. We're at mmercado2333. We're also on iTunes, Mercado Airwaves. You're going to find us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. So then we're going to make sure Paulie gets all his stuff plugged in before we're out of here. But as we're doing this live, it's mid-afternoon, heading into about 3 o'clock Chicago time, and the Cubs are struggling, to say the least. Do we have an update of the score as of this moment?
Bottom of the seventh inning, Pittsburgh 13, Cubs 2, but Pittsburgh did put up 10 runs in the first inning today, knocking John Lester out in the first inning. Of all
people, John Lester, which you were thinking, like, heading into this week, like, this is very much going to be a Chicago-heavy podcast. We're going to talk a lot about the Cubs and White Sox. We're going to talk some, around the major leagues, but the big thing that I wanted to get into is, before we get into any numbers or anything, how are you feeling when it comes to, we're doing this in perspectives. You're a Sox fan, as unbiased as we are in all our other stuff, like the biasness kicks in. I'm a Cub fan, you're a Sox fan. We're going to try our best to just talk baseball, but as a Sox fan, how are you feeling? Because over here on the north side, it has been one of the weirdest seasons I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, and I could understand that totally for you being a Cubs fan. When could you say the Cubs are defending champions, which they are right now, and they're right now currently a game under 500, looking to be about 2. So I get where you're coming from. With the White Sox, it's kind of it was nice going into the season knowing that I don't have to worry about them being a winning team. It's not that I'm rooting for them to lose, but if they have a losing record this year, it was expected, and they would get a better draft pick next year. Now, I know that the players aren't purposely, playing down to their opponents or not trying, because these are professionals. They want to stay in the game. They want to stay hungry. So they're not going to change their makeup whatsoever to try and lose more. So with the White Sox being 10 games below 500 right now, like, that's expected. If you would have asked me at the beginning of the season, hey, at the All-Star break, the Sox will be 10 or 11 games or 9 or 10 games below 500, I'd be like, yeah, that's about right, and that's okay. For 30 years of being a White Sox fan, this is the first time I think I can honestly say, like, I'm not worried. I'm not going to live and die. I'm not going to get ulcers or anything based on how they're performing. So they did get off to a little bit of an interesting start, though. Yeah. And I think the biggest surprise, though, was their bullpen. They had such consistency with their bullpen that, Anthony Swarzak, Tommy Canley, those types of guys, just really overachieving And I think that's why they started off so well. Now, those guys have kind of come back down to earth a little bit. There's been some injuries. Starting pitching has been inconsistent. Even the position players, Tyler Saladino has been injured. I think he should be coming back soon, last I'd heard. But, then you got the outbreak of Avi Garcia, who, a couple of years ago, he was looking like the best player in the first month or two that would represent them in the All-Star game. I think this was like 2014 maybe.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Or 2015 maybe, something like that. But he was expected to be, he was little Miggy Cabrera when he came from Detroit. So this is now where he's supposed to be. Of course, I think he's coming back down a little bit. Of course, you have Jose Abreu, who gets off to that rough start in the cold weather, plays better in the warm weather, and usually is more of a second half guy. I think, the numbers are a little even, but I think he's a guy that kind of just wakes up a little bit from that May to September slot rather than right from the get-go. So, yeah, I'm satisfied with where the White Sox are. And as far as their draft goes, getting bats, with Jake Berger in the first round, that was a little bit of a bold move by them because there was easily better pitchers available or better players available, and at least how some of these mock drafts have gone, there were better guys available than Jake Berger. However, in the first round, once you get past like the first 5 guys, it's kind of, you scout it the way you want to scout it.
Right.
So I understand. I wasn't upset that the Sox got Berger. I was actually kind of in the back of my mind thinking, like, that'd be a cool move if they actually went and got the guy and then they drafted him.
Yeah.
This is, I'm watching the draft live.
As it's going on,
So I'm hoping that Jake Berger works out. There's a little bit of a risk with him coming from Missouri State, which is Missouri Valley Conference school. So, he's not playing...
The comp isn't there.
Yeah, exactly. He's not playing SEC schools or, the California schools. I think even, not to slight Missouri Valley Conference Division I baseball, but, there's junior colleges in Arizona and California that play, Texas, Florida, that play way tougher competition than I think some of those guys see in that league. So that's something that I'm concerned about, but at the same time, Berger hits for power, and he ultimately hits for contact as well, and his power really just came within the last couple of years. So, and I think he homered, in his first game this past week, too, in rookie ball that he played. So I'm excited about that. They drafted Gavin Sheets in the second round, who, definitely all power. His father, Larry, played in the MLB. So, I think... that might be the type of guy that shows up low average, high power, which there's been plenty of those guys with the White Sox. But I like that they went bats this year. They went pitchers last year. They drafted pitchers kind of consistently with like Fulmer and Rodon and those guys. So I'm kind of glad that things are looking brighter as a result of this. Now all the White Sox need to do, though, is figure out a way to trade Todd Frazier, unless they're really gonna double down and keep him for longer. But Yoan Moncada is more or less going to be the future of third base for the White Sox unless he plays second.
Yeah.
So I would think that Frazier is going to be gone, and with Frazier being a free agent at the end of the year, now's the time. Here we are on July 9th. We only have
3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks. Yeah, 4 weeks. Yeah,
give
4
or
weeks.
take.
Yeah,
Until the trade deadline.
Until the trade deadline.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've got to flip Frazier. A lot of people are talking about Jose Quintana, and I know that you and I, before we flipped on the microphones, have been talking about this a little bit. The Brewers seem to be a contender, and definitely looking into getting a starting pitcher.
If I'm Major League Baseball, that's the team that worries me when it comes to the Quintana trade. But that's the thing, though. It's with these trades for the White Sox, let's talk about the big ones with Boston and with Washington, setting the foundation for what is, even if you're, struggling in this month, as in June, as the White Sox were, it's one of those weird things, though, where it was a fun few months watching them lose, and not in a sarcastic way. They were a fun team to watch. They were losing games they're supposed to, but they were interesting. When the Cubs were rebuilding, the worst thing was knowing you were going to only win 60 games, and it was going to be a bad 60 games.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to be bad. There's something about Ricky Renteria, the way that he's managing this club. There's something about the attitude that falls down from Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams. This team does not believe they're as bad as they should be. So I think that's something good when it comes to when a guy like Moncada is ready to come up, that he's coming into an environment that's ready to win. Because that's the thing. You got my biggest question to you for the last 6 months has been, who's developing these guys? How are they going to develop? It's great to draft well. It's amazing. What the front office of the South Side did was to completely re-energize.
It went against the grain of what the White Sox have done in the past by admitting that they're going to be in a rebuild.
Do you trust the development then of the front office and the coaching staff? Because I think we're learning now that the coaching staff cares. Because I think if this was a different regime, literally the
Robin Ventura and all, yeah,
I would be DEFCON 9. But this time.
Well, and that was the whole point that the Cubs snagged Rick Renteria back in 2014 when he was managing them, was the bilingual and the fact that he works well with young developing players. And the whole reason why he left the Cubs and they got Joe Maddon, that's a different story. I don't blame the Cubs. That's neither here nor there.
That's one of those million.
Fortunately for me as a White Sox fan, I liked Rick Renteria when he was with the Cubs. I thought that was an interesting move.
I think the Cubs liked him.
Yeah, and I think sometimes the value we place on a manager is overrated.
Okay.
But like a manager does serve a purpose. But you don't need a name. Just because Ozzie Guillen has won a World Series and is the only manager that has won a World Series that's young enough to manage a team right now that's not managing a team doesn't mean that Ozzie Guillen is the best candidate right now to be a manager.
Sure.
And don't get me wrong, I would love to have Ozzie Guillen back as manager of the White Sox.
For different reasons, though.
Yeah, but he left.
Yeah.
It's time for someone else's turn, and Rick Renteria has definitely earned it. And I hope he has a chance to stay here through this rebuild. My worry about Rick Renteria is that he's going to develop these guys, and then come time to win, he's going to become essentially what happened to Denny Savard when he was coaching the Blackhawks.
Sure.
The second they were ready, they got rid of him and got Joel Quenneville.
That's a great place to be in, though. If you're in a spot where you're more worried about, all right, who's going to be the coach that takes the team to the championship, that's a good problem to have. I mean, we see it in all sports, though. The Vinny Del Negros to the Tom Thibodeau's. You're waiting for the step up. Who's your championship? Who's your World Series manager at this point? I think Rick Renteria is a hell of a manager. And I think with Robert coming in, with Abreu already there, you have very much a strong Hispanic clubhouse there.
Yeah.
And having that type of manager, again, I don't think anybody ever... I think people do overvalue the state of a manager. I think the most important thing, we've seen it with Joe Maddon. Joe Maddon has made some of the biggest blunders as a manager from paper to field when it comes to...
Do you want to get to that right now? Because I have some theories about... I think people are kind of over-criticizing Joe Maddon at the moment. I think he's doing what he's doing. I think Joe Maddon sometimes tries to outsmart himself.
Yes.
But at the same time, he's blessed with so many guys that he has to rotate in and out, such as Baez, Russell, Zobrist, Happ, Schwarber. Guys that don't necessarily fit where they're fitting, and no leadoff guy losing Dexter Fowler. So it's a weird problem. It's a bad problem to have, not a good problem to have. So I think that's been his biggest thing, is he's trying to find a way to get more bats. Joe Maddon for the Cubs getting more bats in. But at the same time, it's how do you balance that? And I think someone's got to go. But I don't know if you want to transition to that now.
Let's go a little bit more White Sox, though, because I think we're in a nice little row with them. I really want to get your opinion on where, after we've hit this first half, after we finish up this Sunday, what do you see as the rest of the year goes on? Are you excited? Is it all leading up to September? Because I feel like for me, as a Cub fan, I'm diehard Cub fan, but as a baseball fan, I'm already getting ready to buy tickets for games in September for the White. My girlfriend's a Sox fan, so to me, it's that's when you want it. It's when the Cubs are around 2013-14, and you're like, oh, I should probably start going to these games for the call-ups now before anything else.
Yeah.
So as a Sox fan, is that what we're waiting for? Are we just waiting to get past the trade deadline to see if they finally get rid of Quintana and Frazier?
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
it's another day at the operator to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones,
Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
and all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.
I suppose, I think the casual Sox fan doesn't really know what's going on, and call me out if I'm wrong, casual Sox fans, but I think there's a lot of, minor league scoreboard watching or development watching with the fans that are in the know, but I think the casual fan is just, happy to go see games, happy when we win, sad to see Chris Sale gone, but at the same time, you either know why or you don't know why that this is happening. So, yeah, I think for someone that's a little bit more diehard or a little bit more in tune than the casual fan, then, yeah, September is going to be where it's at. But then who comes up, though? I mean, Yoan Moncada, I would hope comes up. I would assume. Yeah, I was going to assume. Maybe not hope, but assume. Yeah. His clock started with Boston already, so...
and that doesn't change when you've been traded? Like, how does that work?
So... and I could be a little off on this. So I think his clock is stopped, but it already did start. So, would it be a matter of he comes, so the clock starts again.
And for anybody who's new to this, the clock basically means the Chris Bryant effect is whatever great player has, it extends the amount of time that your team owns the rights to your contract.
Yeah, Major League Baseball service time. Yeah, so I would expect him to be with the team next year, but I don't know if he will break camp with the team next year.
No, I agree with that.
I would expect him to get a September call-up in the sense that, his season will be over with AAA Charlotte, then maybe he can at least get more Major League at-bats. And that was a big critique of him from some people, was like, oh, well, good luck with Moncada. He's the top prospect, but he struggled against Major League pitching last year in the 7 games he played with Boston. So.
And again, mind you, I don't have the teams in front of me, but just taking a wild guess, against American League East pitching I don't see how a rookie is going to be able to manage that in those type of moments for Boston.
Well, and it's such a small sample size, you can't really judge a player off of 7 games,
But I will say this though, now from our side, when the Cubs were going through their rebuilding process, I think the most annoying thing was when people didn't understand how important each and every day, each and every week matters when the clock starts. There were Cub fans who wanted Chris Bryant to come up in 2015 before they had that second half run and they ended up going to the NLCS. He wasn't on the Major League roster.
Not to break camp in 2015. Yeah, I think but it was like 2 weeks later. Yeah,
but there was literally arguments on every sports radio. Yeah. Why isn't he up right now? The Cubs missed the playoffs. It's going to be because of that. It's like, no. That's not how...
7 is better than 6. Yeah. that was the whole thing.
People don't understand this process. So the White Sox are going through this rebuilding process, and for the longest time it was, well, are they going to be buyers or are they going to be sellers? The fact remains that the White Sox want to be sellers. They want to be bad, and that's okay. That is okay to want to be bad this year. Do I think you need to be atrocious and only win 50 games? No. But look, the matter of the fact is the White Sox to me are right in a position to get ahead of the curve of where baseball is right now. Look around baseball. The Milwaukee Brewers, the Houston Astros, the Chicago Cubs, we've seen it, how the development is when you make these steps. I'm surprised Milwaukee was able to do it with a guy like Ryan Braun, that they didn't have to trade away that type of quote-unquote talent to help with this rebuilding stage.
Well, you're talking about in the past. This year it's hard with him being injured, and I think that's also that stigma of the steroid use. Yeah. So, maybe let's take that out of the equation because I don't think that scares every single
Most
team.
teams.
But yeah, they didn't have to do that. They drafted well. Yeah. I think
quietly.
Very quietly.
Very low key. Like there was no big splashes, and those are the teams that are dangerous. Like I don't see, if I'm a White Sox fan, I'm in no hurry for Moncada to come up in 2018.
Well, and that goes back to, we were talking about Jose Quintana.
Yeah.
And, Todd Frazier, I get, and that's why I'm pushing for them to trade him, because he's a free agent at the end of the year. If he wants to come back to the White Sox and they want him back, you could work that out in the offseason.
Yeah,
you can get something for him now. Who knows what you can get. With Quintana, he's signed through, I think, 2019, 2020.
At 28 years old?
Yeah, 27, I think, right now. Yeah. So, you could hold on to him for a couple of years. You could even bring him on and have him be that veteran.
That's the most
number 3, number 4 in the rotation by the time all these kids are coming up.
I was gonna say let's not even beat around the bush. Let's say 2019 they're competitive.
Yeah.
Let's say 2019 they're competitive.
Well, if they're like the Brewers, yeah.
Yeah, they're competitive. win the World Series or not win the World Series, they're competitive to start off. You don't look like the biggest idiots in the world if you have Quintana in your rotation all of a sudden still.
That's true.
It's like you don't. This process isn't going to end overnight. And just because Washington, you bend them over a barrel and got King's ransom, does not mean that you're going to do that again. I mean, think about the haul they got for Chris Taylor and Adam Eden at one point. Those trades don't exist. Unless you're getting a Aroldis Chapman in the middle of a season for a World Series run, those trades don't exist.
Yeah.
So, if you're asking me, there's half the league is in contention right now. Who's going to, other than Milwaukee, or other than like a New York Yankees, who's going to go out there and have their farm system for Quintana right now? For the way Washington did and the way Boston did.
And I don't think the Yankees are willing to sacrifice their farm system. You know, I think they're kind of content where they are, but they need pitching. So the Yankees are definitely one. There was always the rumor of Houston or Boston. Houston especially, but something happened in the offseason where Houston wanted Quintana and the White Sox did not want to make that deal.
I wonder if it was because they're
or it was the White Sox weren't happy with what they were getting back. I think it was the
package coming back.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think who their top guy, if it's Kyle Tucker or whoever it is from Houston. I think Houston wasn't willing to part with their top guy, and it didn't work out. But and it's like you were saying, like you can't expect that King's ransom just because
somebody already gave you the one.
Yeah,
you got the one.
Well,
you got two.
You got two
already
in the same week.
Yeah.
And that's it. It was borderline miraculous that it happened. I would think Colorado would be another team in play at the same time. I don't know how willing Colorado is to sacrifice their future for now.
Let me ask you this: if you're Colorado though, and you're looking at somebody like what the Dodgers are doing, are you willing to mortgage the future?
Dodgers are a hard team to compete with, though.
That's what I'm saying, though. So, like, if you're sitting there and like you can make this Quintana trade, that's phenomenal. But after that, like, are you still in any position right now to beat on and overcome the Dodgers? Like, the Dodgers. A lot of people like Washington. The Dodgers are the best team in baseball.
Oh, Houston, one to 60 last night, yeah.
Houston might make an argument for it, but like the team that looks ready to crack. You and I used to talk about this last year with the Cubs. It's every few years we go through these moments where you can kind of see teams getting ready to break that ceiling, get over that hump.
Yep.
You saw it with Kansas City. You've seen it with the Cubs. I think you're seeing it with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And that's a scary thing that we're getting to the point in baseball now where if you made the right moves, we can almost calculate the moment where you're going to do this. That's why I don't think White Sox fans should be in any hurry. What are you in a hurry for?
Yeah, and I think the Sox fans in the know that though.
Yeah.
Like 2019, 2020 is like the beginning of that championship window. It's kind of like the Cubs right now, where okay, so you're experiencing a bad championship hangover. The window is far from closed.
The window hasn't even started.
The window just has a screen on it right now. Yeah. That's it. You can kick that screen open if Milwaukee has a bad week.
Now, I will say this though, and this is before we even get to the Cubs. This is just a very broad statement. I think the league is just so much parity in the league now, though.
Yes.
Like, there is something to say about Kansas City won the World Series 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Cleveland was in the World Series last year. Mm-hmm. It's like there's parity in the league now. People know the book is out. People know how to do these sabermetrics. Like, they know how to build these teams the right way up. Now, I still think that the White Sox are going to be entertaining throughout the rest of this year. I think there's a lot of good storylines to see where it plays off. I have my issues with the White Sox, not with management, not with managerial like Ricky Renteria and his staff. I have no problems with the roster.
Yeah.
My problem with the White Sox has always been the front office.
Mm-hmm.
You have 3 voices up there. You do. This is not a lot. It's Rick Hahn's ship now.
Yeah.
But don't ever think Kenny Williams isn't right there. And right ahead of Kenny is Michael.
And they've been very transparent by accident by allowing that, because it doesn't seem like someone's taking control of the ship.
No.
Ultimately, it's Jerry Reinsdorf's team.
All day, every day.
And it's, I mean, people like to say Jerry Reinsdorf is cheap, but I think it was in the mid-2000s they were consistently in the top 15, sometimes the top 5 for opening day payroll.
Yeah.
So, when they were ready to win, they were ready to win. I mean, part of that, too, is in 2006 they were all in as the defending champions. They won 90 games in 2006.
Yeah. It's not their fault that their division has historically been stacked.
Yeah.
Like, historically. Not right now, but historically.
Well, even then, look at it this way. I mean, you mentioned last year's American League champion, Central Division.
Yeah, that's true.
The previous year's
Central
World
Division.
Series Central Division.
No, yeah, Detroit was
2012,
there,
yeah. So, I mean, it rotates a lot. But, yeah, I mean, this was before the 2 wild cards, so they would have been there. They would have played, I believe, Minnesota for that spot in 2006 if that existed. But yeah, I mean, that's neither here nor there.
No,
but I'm with you. I think there's a lack of consistency from the top. But at the same time, I worry that, once Chairman Reinsdorf passes away, I think he's instructed his family to sell the team.
Think so?
Yeah. I don't think new owner is going to appreciate the lack of attendance on the South Side, and I think that's a team that is in danger of moving. I mean, this is kind of a very far off possibility, but it's a very realistic possibility.
It's just a thought, something that again,
I got White Sox fans that are going to hate me. When they hear this.
They already hate you, dude. They hate you already as it is. You didn't say they were going to win in 2018, but here's the thing, though.
I think 2018 is going to be worse for them next year.
I hope it's worse. Seriously,
well, yeah, to a point, yeah.
Because like I don't wish misery on my White Sox friends.
Yeah.
But like, you want it to be bad. You want it to be entertaining. You want them to be in games. But hey, let the kids lose. Learn to lose first.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with any of that. Let me ask you this though: could the White Sox succeed in the city with proper management, in the sense of getting people in the stadium? I don't know what the answer is, but there seems to be enough baseball around to go around for both teams.
I think realistically they can get people to the ballpark. In terms of will they ever outlast the Cubs? No, never. I mean, it shouldn't be an argument, but I mean it's hard because the city is split.
No, it is. Like it's a fun argument. It's a fun argument between fans. It's a fun argument between friends and everything like that. But
the World Series championship for the Cubs, though, has solidified the Cubs as, for the generations that are alive right now, there's going to be a fan base. There, I mean, they went all in and they got Wrigley Field, they got the championship, and now you're selling these little kids on the fact that like this is it. This is the friendly confines. You have champions. Like they're no longer the losers. Like they are the winners. So there might be more and more Cubs fans. It's a. I've got relatives out east that are Cubs fans.
Yeah.
Like it's a
more
team,
nationwide spread.
With the White Sox, the excuse was, we don't show up unless there's a winner. Well, for 2/3 of the 2012 season, the White Sox were in first place, and it was like 20th best attendance in the league. So, yeah, I think if you have something that you can market and sell, like let's say Yoan Moncada does end up being like a Hall of Fame worthy player. I mean, that's the ceiling for him. People are going to want to come out and see that every day. People wanted to come out and see Frank Thomas every day.
Yeah.
Moncada's not Frank Thomas, though, so there's going to have to be more to it than that. I think consistent winning would help, and that was the whole point of the rebuild. Instead of these patchwork, the Band-Aid on the bullet wound that they were doing for the last,
since 05, since 06.
Since even before that, since like 90, 91, it's been like that.
Fair enough.
I feel like, yeah.
No, fair enough. By the way, I love those jerseys, the sleeveless jerseys.
Oh, the vests.
Those.
Yeah,
those are so good. But I don't look. I think it's really interesting that there's still this weird battle. Like, I don't understand why Cub fans still get mad at Sox fans and Sox fans get mad at Cub fans. Like, there is no longer oh man, the Cubs are on WGN, so that means we can't watch the White Sox game. It's like both teams are on television at the same time. Mm-hmm. Both teams have won. Both teams' owners make billions of dollars. Like, they're amongst the most popular sold jerseys on both sides of town. Like, I don't understand. I understand the rivalry. What I don't understand is the little brother, big brother anymore.
There's just a lot of stupid people. That's why. I see some of the arguments online, and then like social media is sometimes the devil, and it's just there's people that are just like. It feels like they hate the other team more than they love their team.
I'm glad. So before we get into Cubs stuff, I mean, I think what I'm really liking about this podcast is we're talking baseball.
Mm-hmm.
It's really talking baseball, and what upsets me is you have two teams going in two different directions with the same goal in mind. You have one team on the north side who has done it, and now is trying to learn how to continue doing it. Then you have one team on the south side who's learning how to do it, the growing pains are going to be there from both sides. We're literally watching it right now. It doesn't matter if you've won the World Series. It doesn't matter that you won almost 200 games in 2 years. There's growing pains when you're under the age of 27 years old.
Yep.
In this sport. And you're expecting then for somebody like Mercado to come up and to tear, the leather off the ball. You're expecting the White Sox. I remember when the trades were made for Chris Sale that they're a playoff team. It's like, no, they just showed that they know what they're doing. That unlike their counterparts on the West Side at the United Center, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that to me, if I'm a Sox fan, to the hell with the Cubs. Enjoy your World Series.
And I think most Sox fans,
Sox fans,
yeah. Like they're not worried about the Cubs. I mean, like with me, me, I don't root for the Cubs. I don't really hate the Cubs.
The only time
but I don't care. I was I was rooting against them in the World Series, but I was so happy for you and family and friends that were
literally got a text message from Paul the next morning saying congratulations, enjoy. Like there is a sense when the White Sox traded for Chris Sale and they traded Chris Sale and they traded Adam Eaton, the first thing I did was like, dude, I texted him like, dude, King's ransom. Like, how in the world, out of all people, did Rick Hahn make this move? But it just goes to show that
I think it was just the Jerry Reinsdorf and Kenny Williams said, all right, if you are the general manager, go do what you feel fit.
But you know that, and certain fans know that. I went on Twitter 5 minutes before we went on the air, and I saw somebody talking about the comparison of the 06 White Sox to the 16 Cubs.
And that's a hard comparison.
But, first of all, the what would then be the 07 White Sox were 15 games over 500 by the All-Star break. Like they were
bad.
Yeah.
The 07 White Sox were bad. They were out of it by June.
Okay, so whatever year following the World Series, right?
Yeah, 06, yeah.
So 06 following the World Series.
But it's you can't compare those two teams.
Why because they share the same city? Do people not realize that White Sox team was filthy? I know it's been 10 years.
I guess going into both seasons, people expected the teams to repeat or at least win their divisions. The 2017 Cubs, the 2006 White Sox. But the Cubs didn't trade for Jim Thome. They
you didn't have people playing on
solidify their pitching staff with a fifth guy. The Cubs lost their leadoff guy. That's a big thing.
Well, I mean, we could get into the Cubs stuff in 1 second, but I really want to wrap up the Sox talk because I think we spent a half an hour talking about White Sox talk. That's more than some stations in the city. So I think we did.
Yeah. Now the flagship is on a different.
Yeah, right. By the way, that's the stupidest. I hate the Reinsdorfs for moving the Bulls and the White Sox. That was the dumbest move ever. You talk about now. Who the hell drops on WLS?
Yeah, I know. What are they trying to appeal to, conservative sports fans or something?
So for anybody outside of Chicago, here's the thing: WLS.
Rush Limbaugh leads White Sox games before day games.
Think about that.
Or even Steve Dahl, the guy that blew up the ballpark in '79 with Disco Demolition, leads.
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that. So that's the point. That's the stuff that bugs me about White Sox ownership, and as a Bulls fan, it's just the little things like that, how just going from 670 to 890 on the dial is the biggest change in the road. It makes no sense.
I mean, in terms of they're both 50,000 watt clear channel radio stations, but yeah, I mean you can hear them as far as you can hear them.
Of course, but it's night and day in the sense of a Chicago sports fan knows.
Oh yeah,
you go to 670, you go to 720, you go to 780, you go to 1000.
Mm-hmm.
Those are what you go to.
890's big. I mean, I think if you talk to someone over the age of 50, and 890's a big station.
But you and I come from a generation where
it was WMVP, WSCR, WBBM, WGN.
We know, so that's always bothered me about White Sox management, but that ownership in general. But let's do a quick overview then of what the White Sox. So, as of right now, what has been the biggest pleasure you've seen as a White Sox fan?
Biggest pleasure I've seen, Avi Garcia actually being what he was supposed to be. However, his fielding is still awful. I think ultimately he's a designated hitter, but seeing Avi Garcia succeed is probably the best thing. And the fact that they decided to go in a direction in the off season. But as far as since opening day, Avi Garcia.
What has been the biggest disappointment of the season?
The fact that they might not be trading any of the guys that I mentioned, like Frazier or Quintana or David Robertson was one that we haven't mentioned. If Robertson, especially Robertson or Frazier, if one of those guys doesn't get traded by the 31st, that would be the biggest disappointment for me.
what's the biggest concern, not just of this year, but of this whole rebuild? There's a lot of things to look forward to. There's
Michael
a lot of talent.
Kopech should be a setup guy and not a starter.
Wow. So everybody, we're 32 minutes into that. You're going to stick with that?
For now, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, with his development, I mean, yeah, he's had great starts.
Yeah.
He can last a while, but he also was a younger kid. That 100-mile-an-hour fastball is going to wear on that shoulder and that elbow and that tricep.
Only have so many bullets in the chamber.
And if he's not going to be the closer, if it's not going to be was it Zach Birdie, local kid that's if he's not going to be the closer, then it should be Kopech. But that's your 8th and 9th inning guys, I think, come 3-4 years from now.
At the end of the season, what is going to be the description, what is going to be the final statement of this 2017 campaign for the White Sox? Not only was it a success, was it a failure, was it encouraging, was it disappointing? When we come back and do our end of the year recap, what do you think is going to be the description at the end of the summary of the 2017 White Sox?
I think it's going to be, they're still moving forward with the rebuild. It's going to be something along the lines of, hey, we didn't lose 100 games. Now, granted, they might lose 52 in the second half. I don't know, or 50, 51 or whatever it's going to be. But I think they've been competitive enough to the point where they won't have a 100-loss season. They're still moving forward with the rebuild. Hopefully, they've traded one of those guys maybe through waivers after the free agent deadline if they don't do it by the free agent deadline. And we might start getting a glimpse of, seeing Carson Fulmer come back or seeing Lucas Giolito make a start for us. He had one with the Nationals last year. Maybe he gets one this year with the White Sox. Moncada, Giolito, start seeing that development a little bit. Zach Collins isn't ready. Kopech's not ready. Dane Dunning's not ready. But you're going to start seeing a little bit closer. And I think it's kind of we're still here despite the rebuild. We're still trying to win. I think is going to be what it's going to be.
And one final bold prediction. So when we do the end of the year recap, one bold prediction of the second half post All-Star break for the 2017 Chicago White Sox.
One bold prediction.
A bold prediction. Will they make a trade? Will they hold on to somebody? Will Avi Garcia all of a sudden keep going ape and be in the MVP chase?
The boldest prediction, I think, would be David Robertson gets traded. As to what team, the rumor would be the Nationals, but I feel like it's going to be someone we don't expect, and I don't think it's going to work out for them, whoever gets him.
Okay.
But yeah, boldest prediction, I don't know.
So you think David Robertson's the only one that gets moved?
Yeah, I think Frazier maybe gets moved, but I would say Robertson is the only one that gets traded. The return isn't going to be as well as people would expect it to be or like. Fans are going to be the fans that are all about the rebuild are going to be upset about not getting certain prospects back. But it'll work out for both sides in the sense that I think Robertson's not really a good enough closer in this league, and the White Sox will get rid of that.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Another day at the operator to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones. Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
And all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.
Wow. So you have any final thoughts or just something that, when it comes to the White Sox that's kind of been irking you the first half, or just
No,
something that's been running in your
I'll
mind?
leave it with this. It was announced this year that Hawk Harrelson is going to step down next year as the broadcaster. He's going to do like 20 games next year, and I think they're all going to be home games next year too.
Which is different than this year, right?
Yeah, because he
Okay.
goes out on the road.
Yeah.
Which, for those people that don't know that listening, that the reason why he doesn't do the home games is because he lives in South Bend, Indiana. That's a little bit of a drive to get to the south side of Chicago, 81 games a year, so it's easier for him to get to the airport. Yeah, with his age, I think he's like 75, something like that.
That's a lot.
It's easier for him to get to the airport for travel games, and then he's got a limousine or a taxi or whatever that takes him to the ballpark every day from the hotel. So, so next year he's going to do his last season in the booth, 20 games. AJ Pierzynski, who is working in broadcasting with
TBS?
Fox,
yes.
is a great color analyst, a guy that his first season retired from the game. He's a catcher. He's been in there. Love him or hate him, he's always been in there, and he knows what he's talking about. And he said he wants to push Stone out of the booth and just have him and Hawk do a game. I think that
an awesome idea.
Definitely
That'd
that
be an
has
awesome
to
idea.
happen. That
For
absolutely has to happen.
Because everybody on the planet hates AJ,
and everyone hates Hawk.
And everybody hates Hawk, and except for the people who played with, or get announced by, hate him just a little bit less.
Yeah.
But
no, I mean I love Hawk and AJ, so I would love it.
But that is a smart get. Talk about getting people into the stadium, or at least ratings on TV. That's pretty damn smart.
There you
go. I also love the announcer that you guys have now,
Jason Benetti.
Yo.
The young man does a great job. He does do a great job. He's no Hawk Harrelson, but at the same time, he brings things to the table that Hawk would never bring.
Look at here. This is how I always say to anybody who complains about announcers, right? As a Cub fan, we've been lucky. Cub fans have been lucky. Say what you will about Harry Carey being crazy and all. Steve Stone, phenomenal. I don't get the hate. Chip Carey was awesome. Chip was awesome. He got it, though. He got it. He got what it was to be a...
Chip was never bad, but I thought Chip was a little overrated. But Chip's gotten way better over time, with the Braves, yeah.
And, that was his dream job. Chicago has some amazing baseball announcers right now. Because Len and JD, awesome. I thought Len and Bob
Pat
Brentley,
Hughes and Ron Coomer are great.
awesome. And then for the White Sox, it's the same thing. When Benetti's on there, I love me.
I still prefer Hawk to Benetti, but at the same time, I'm going to have to get used to Benetti, and that's fine. I like what he brings. I love his enthusiasm that he brings to the broadcast.
Tell me I'm glad we're getting into announcer talk, being two dudes in business, but there's something I think about baseball where if the announcer can make me fall asleep, and not in a boring way, but I'm laying down in bed and I can just fall asleep to the game, that's when a baseball announcer to me is the best. So Len Casper, I feel it's the same with Vince Scully. It's he would just put you to sleep, but not because you were bored, but because the sound was soothing. Put on Pat Hughes in the middle of the night and tell me you don't get relaxed. There's a certain, and I don't think it's a soothness. There's a certain a way, just a beat to it.
See, I like when you learn something new. And baseball is one of those games where you can watch it for 50 years and still learn little things. So I like that, and I think Benetti tries to bring out a lot of the history through Steve Stone when they do Sticks and Stone, and where they talk about that. I think they have a new thing now.
Benetti's a young guy though, right?
Yeah, he's 33. I want to say 34.
He's trying to establish himself. You know what? It's a tough game.
He'll have more stories in 10, 15 years from now when he's been around the game.
And think about what he's trying to do, man. Say what you will, Hawk. I don't like Hawk, but he's an institution in this city.
Oh yeah, and Hawk stories are a little old. I tell you what,
they're funny.
Tell you what, they're feisty. Ain't no one can hit a curveball like Yaz. Tell you what, they're Stony. Ain't no one can hit a curveball like Yaz. Tell you what, they're Wimpy. Ain't no one can. It doesn't matter who the partner is.
I think
it's always been the same thing.
All right, just for our fans, we're gonna play Hawk Drops now.
Look at the play by Burley. Mercy! Wow! From the Gold Glove winner. Look at this. That's as good as I have ever seen right there. That ball into right field deep. And Lillibridge makes the catch. What a play by Lillibridge. Mercy. Hits the wall, hangs on to it. A beautiful play by Brent Lillibridge. That ball hit deep. Way back. Wells at the ball, looks up. You can put it on the board. Yes. Who wants the bunt? Juan Pierre his first homer, and it's a 6-4 Sox lead. Mercy. The ball hit high and deep. Stretch at the wall. He looks up. You can put it on the board. Yes.
All right, thank you for the hawk drops. Yeah, man. I mean, look, I think that was a really cool way to end it. So, you're just excited. I'm sorry, we went on this tangent like we always do. So, what are you excited about? Just to listen to the last?
Yeah, I think the
games?
final season of Hawk Harrelson to kind of put some closure to it, and the fact that like AJ Przinsky absolutely needs to be in the booth with him, just the two of them for one game, and it can't be just an inning. It's got to be a whole game of the two of them together, and I think that would be exciting. No offense to Steve Stone, he's great too.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool thing I think baseball deserves something like that. Paul Chivari here with Mike Mercado. We're doing a Mercado Airwaves Chivari production thing. We're talking baseball. We just spent a good amount of time talking White Sox, which was a lot of fun. I really don't get a chance to really indulge into the South Side, and to hear the excitement coming from Paul and from the nation is really, really cool. But one of the main reasons I really wanted to stick on the White Sox for so long is there really isn't a lot to talk about on the North Side, right? Like, there's nothing going on over there.
Well,
like,
I think
nothing.
I think if things were a little bit more positive, you'd want to talk a little bit more about it. But honestly, this has to shock you that they're 2 games below 500 at the All-Star break. Mm-hmm. It's final, 14-3 Pittsburgh. 43-45 is your record for the Cubs.
So do you want me? Okay, do you? Let me put it to you this way. It's not shocking that they're 2 games below 500. It's shocking how they got there throughout the process. Yeah, obviously, if you told me in February that this team was going to be teetering that 2 games over, 2 games under all season long, that would be concerning. It's how they're doing it. You're giving up 2 runs more than you did last season. Mm-hmm. You're booting the ball around. Addison Russell doesn't know how to make a throw to first base anymore. Mm-hmm. And I wholeheartedly believe this. This team was crushed when the expectations came falling down on Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah.
I think, man, I'm telling you, I think this team can survive a lot of things. I think injuries, they can overcome. I think bad pitching, they can overcome. I don't think they were, this season specifically, this start specifically, I don't think they were prepared if Schwarber wasn't what they thought he was going to be. I think it hurt them.
Schwarber was an odd choice to be the leadoff guy.
That was dumb. Like,
I can see where Joe Maddon's coming from. You've got a left-handed power hitter who, in his short time in the league over the last 2 seasons, got on base.
Yeah,
look what he did last year, only playing 3 regular season games, hurting himself, and then he back in the World Series, and he picked up like nothing happened.
How much of that is the league catching up to you? How much of that is also the fact that they were running like? One thing people don't ever want to talk about, because, winners get to write history. Mm-hmm. Fact remains, it took the Cubs 7 games, 10 innings, a rain delay, and a guy coming back from torn ACL to win the World Series.
Yeah.
It took the Cubs.
Very improbable.
Cleveland had to run out of gas after 7 games, 10 innings, and injuries to 2 of their starting pitchers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So many things have to go right for you to win a World Series. Guess what's happening right now? Everything wrong that can happen.
But wasn't this? I mean, at least like John Lackey is kind of coming back down to earth. He's 38 years old.
Right. But when he's your 4th or 5th,
wasn't I telling you that last season?
You've been on that since they signed John Lackey. You knew exactly what he was. You knew what you were going to get from him.
The pitching was so good last year that
phenomenal.
I think people took it for granted.
That's
and that was the thing is I had argued with a friend that I ended up losing a bet to. I owe him dinner. But I told him in May of last year, late May, early June last year, I said, no, the Cubs won't win the World Series because of their pitching. Well, then he goes and posts on, the internet, their team ERA and all that, and he's like, hey, this reputable guy says that they have bad pitching. And I was like, I'm not saying that they have bad pitching now, I just think it's going to fall apart by the end of the season. Well, it didn't. I was wrong about that. But now people are saying, well, what happened to John Lackey? Well, age happened to John Lackey.
But and it's one of those weird things where just because on paper, Jason Goff from 6'7" to Score said this the best about this Cubs team. Just because we say they're supposed to be great, just because we say they're supposed to pitch well, doesn't mean they're going to. And that's the scary thing is Jake Arrieta has pitched a lot of games since 2015.
Mm-hmm.
John Lackey has pitched a lot of games since 2015. John Lester, we're talking about guys who weren't just, John Lester and John Lackey in particular, weren't just doing it with the Cubs. These are two dudes who have been pitching in playoff games for 10 years already.
Yeah.
They've been winning World Series games that long.
Yeah.
At some point, man, is going to catch up to you, and that's what we've been talking about almost for the last 45 minutes, that there's some people who get it. So when I sit there and I'm like, oh, Jake Arrieta has lost velocity. He can't find his spot.
Well, he's got that finger issue, too. I mean, you know what I'm talking about,
I think he's
right?
got a contract issue.
But that too. But you know what I'm talking about? Like, he's got, like, that,
because
like...
the cuts on the top of the tip of his index finger.
Yeah,
or pointer
and
finger.
his delivery is different than his Cy Young. I mean, we saw it 2 years ago. He was one of the best pitchers ever 2 years ago. Ever. Yeah.
Is he going to do that again?
No, he peaked. That was it. But I think something's up with either that cut on his fingers, the contract, and his super agent Scott Boras trying to maximize money out of the whole thing. It's something to do with his cutter, his arm delivery is a lot different now than it used to be. So whatever's going on with Arrieta, he's never going to be the same pitcher that he's been. But the fact that they got him for what they got him for, and the fact that if they could hold on to him, he's a decent middle of the rotation guy. Lester's a great top lefty. If he's going to be your ace, he's going to be your ace. That's fine. But I was even telling you after they got Lester a couple of years ago, I said they still need that top righty. They need that Max Scherzer.
You mean somebody like maybe Chris Archer?
Chris Archer would be a great one, especially with the history with Joe Madden.
But that in right there is the issue for this Cubs team, is how do you turn it around? Because the talent is in the ball the ball team or the ball club. They're there. When getting Kyle Schwarber back from the minor league is supposed to be like getting somebody in the trade. Mm-hmm. Getting Kyle Hendricks back from the DL is supposed to be like getting somebody from.
Now, when is Hendricks supposed to come back?
He threw a simulated game yesterday.
Okay, so he's on track.
He's on track.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the Rondon thing. It was. It went from 1 week to, I guess he's just not pitching. So people were worried that he was going to be shut down until after the All-Star break.
I think that's the biggest thing that people aren't talking about, though, is the fact that Kyle Hendricks, who was so great last year for them, and a little unexpected that he would be so great last year for them, isn't here this year. And I think that would provide at least enough stability where perhaps they would be 45 and 43 right now instead of 43 and 45. I don't know how much one pitcher can make a difference for them, especially if he's only playing once every 5 games, but starting pitching has been atrocious for the Cubs this year.
And it's when you have bad starting pitching, and you're getting guys, you're giving people free bases by walking a lot, you're giving them a lot of first inning runs, and then your defense isn't bailing you out. Look at Chris Bryant. I'm a big Chris Bryant fan. He was a phenomenal third baseman the last year and a half.
Yeah.
He looks lost in third base right now. Like, he looks lost. Addison Russell doesn't seem to have the range that he had last year. Javi Baez has taken a step back in the sense of when he moves from second base to shortstop. He's a phenomenal second baseman. Mm-hmm. He's a really good shortstop. But the drop-off from what he was doing last year, it's all there. And he doesn't know how not to swing from out of his shoes.
Yeah, and that was the problem when he came up. There was last night, just thinking about Baez, a play at the plate last night where on a relay throw from Happ and center, Baez could have gunned the guy down at the plate, but ended up throwing way over the catcher's head.
And it was like, that didn't happen last year. That didn't happen last year. Now, how much of that is people are tired? How much of that is the team isn't as good
I think they're trying to overcompensate right now.
They could be.
I think it's a mental thing right now where they know, especially when you have a makeup game against the division leader and they whoop up on you 11-2, I think that kind of carries with you a little bit. You don't worry about it as much in May or June because, we're 500. There's plenty of season left. We're right there in the thick of it in the division. We'll be fine. But now you get to the All-Star break and you're below 500. Milwaukee's up right now on the Yankees, 5-3, heading into the ninth inning almost.
Without slowing down. They haven't slowed down.
They haven't slowed down, yeah. So that would be, a 5-game difference that it's going to be coming into the break or whatever.
With St. Louis right on the tail of the Cubs.
And that's a dangerous team right too. Pittsburgh is going to have Starling Marte coming back any day now, and right now they're a game and a half behind the Cubs.
So let's talk about the one thing everybody keeps mentioning is, at some point they're going to have to go up. At some point they're going to put it all together. Why? At what point do we sit here and say they are what they are? How many times does a duck need a quack before we say it's a duck? and stop saying it's a chicken.
Yeah.
It's like, this team is what it is. It's a 500 team in a bad division.
Right now. It could be fixed, and
Sure.
there's plenty of baseball left. But yes, they need that starting pitcher. They need a fluid lineup. You know, losing your leadoff guy, you know, like you need the guy that sets the table.
Who, to be fair though, Dexter Fowler's been struggling in St. Louis.
St. Louis, yeah. But at the same time, I don't know what's going on with him because I feel like he's hitting more long ball than he used to.
I just think it's the atmosphere too, man. I don't think I honestly I don't think it ever clicked with him since he signed there.
Yeah.
I think it was a really weird.
It's like when Hayward was there too.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
like
something about the arch, just really.
The art,
the magnetic pull of the arch or whatever.
All the red screws them up.
Yeah.
But as a Cub fan, it's the one thing anybody who listens to the radio, any type of sports talk radio in Chicago, is there's too many people believing that just because they're good in paper and just because they've done it before, that they're going to turn on the switch. This isn't the same team. This isn't the same legs. These aren't the same scenario. And let's be honest, man. The Hunger, they're professionals. They want to win. They won the World Series last year.
Yeah. Which was that was the ultimate goal of the rebuild, was to win the World Series.
So
it's happened.
You got to find a new goal. You got to find a new one. And you know what happens? What I think is going to happen when we talk about bold predictions, I don't think the Cubs make the playoffs this year.
I don't either. And
I
wanted to say, so Cubs should be buyers or sellers or stand pat at the trade.
Stand pat. Because it's one of the,
I think they should trade one guy and one guy
Wade
only.
Davis.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, I'm not crazy then.
but here's the thing, though. You trade Wade Davis if you truly know. Let's say 4 weeks from now, they have the talent. They don't want to outwardly say we're out of it, but they're out of it.
Would you be willing to sacrifice this season in the hopes that the next 5 years could be better? Wade Davis might re-sign in the offseason.
What I would say is I am not willing to trade Kyle Schwarber right now.
No,
I'm not willing to trade. I'm not willing to trade anybody. What I'm willing to do is talk about Wade Davis. I am willing to talk about that.
The thing is, though, so you have Eloy Jimenez that's going to be coming up.
That's
probably
number one.
He's what, AAA right now, or is he's below that right now? He's below that. Okay, so he's got a few years left before he's going to be coming around. Yeah, he's only A-ball right now for them. Yeah,
so he won't be in AA by the time we're.
Yeah, so he's got a few years down the road. They have Hayward locked up for a long time. Schwarber, they got pretty much locked up. I think service time and all that.
And even more than anything, that's a nice.
You got Ian Happ, who didn't start a single game for Iowa this year. I'm pretty sure he didn't start a single game in the outfield for Iowa this year, which is weird. So ideally, he's a second baseman. But
Right.
so between Happ, Russell, and Baez, wouldn't you think one of them has to go?
Yeah. No, the argument has always been that.
Do you kind of feel like they're auditioning Happ for a trade because they're putting him in the outfield?
No, I think the guy that's traded is Javi Baez.
Okay.
I think that's I would have said 100% before the Addison Russell drama.
Yeah.
But I think they like Russell more because of his age.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget, Baez isn't a Theo Jed guy.
Yeah.
So that's always what you got to keep in mind. And I think Theo is smart enough, and we're gonna give him the credit because he's the benefit of the doubt. He's won 3 World Series, 2 in Boston, 1 in Chicago. We're probably gonna be president of the United States in the next 20 years.
Oh, and more or less was responsible for the 3rd one in 2013 too. Yeah.
So we're gonna give him in the brain trust the benefit of the doubt.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
It's another day at the operator to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones,
Orlando, how you doing, buddy? Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
and all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.
I see them being the type of management that makes a move when they, in their gut, they think, you know what, it's worth trading Torres to the Yankees if that means we get the best closer, arguably, in the game. Because they felt that's...
It worked out. I mean, Aroldis Chapman was a huge reason why the Cubs won last year.
Would you have trusted Pedro Strop and Hector Rondon if that was the case?
No.
And think about, like, looking back now, like, oh my God, they needed Chapman.
Yeah.
Even get up that home run to Davis. They needed Chapman to get into that game. But C.J. Edwards and Michael Montgomery.
I'm trying to remember the timeline of it, but what if they went after Andrew Miller, who was under team control still this year?
I think it was Andrew Miller was traded before Chapman. Chapman was literally the last big piece there. And
the Indians did give up a lot to get him.
I honestly think Cleveland would have won had they had just one more bullet in that chamber. Just one, dude. They were 5 minutes away from winning that World Series.
Oh yeah,
that's the crazy thing, man.
Well, if I recall correctly, too, wasn't Carlos Carrasco injured last year for them?
Yeah.
So like if you have him starting one of those games, it might not have gotten to a game 7.
You know, they had to beat Kugler, so like they got there. They did it. Like they got Andrew Miller. Like they did what they were supposed to, but. That's the ultimate question, man, is if you're 2 games, 3 games below 500 and it's July 30th and we're getting 1 day before the trade deadline, do you make a trade? Yeah, I think you trade Wade Davis, but you do not mortgage your future because you want to make the playoffs this year. Are you beating the Dodgers?
No.
Are you beating Washington? You don't. You don't do that.
I think it's absurd, to try and get that starting pitcher to get. If you get rid of Eloy Jimenez, like you better be darn sure you get Chris Archer. Someone that is under team control.
And you better
for a
be
couple
playing
years.
like the Dodgers.
And you gotta know beforehand, is Chris Archer the type of guy that is going to want to re-sign with the Cubs after his contract?
And how strong is that elbow before? Like every
Yep.
pitcher is gonna destroy that elbow at some point. So where are you going? What are you willing to give up at that moment? And we're seeing it around the league right now, man. It's like you almost guaranteed waiting for that injury to happen. So it becomes what are you willing to mortgage for the presence of mind of they're playing bad right now? It's like, look, man, I didn't expect them to win 7 straight World Series. I expect them to be more competitive, but they literally just won.
Yeah, well, and how many National League teams, after winning the pennant, go back to the playoffs?
Since the Reds in 74, 75?
No, I'm just saying, though, just over the last 2 years, too. Yeah, recent. Mets were NL champions in 2015. They didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, they technically made the playoffs, but lost the one-game playoff.
It's more impressive that the Cubs went to NLCS and a World Series in back-to-back years in that sense. Like, it's very impressive. But, look, there's so many things that we're already running out of time, but, no All-Stars after winning a World Series.
That's bad.
Yeah, no All-Star for the reigning MVP. Starting pitching giving up 2 more runs than last year. Your defense is bad. They've been injured, unlike last year. The playoffs are in doubt, man. The playoffs are in doubt, and I never thought we would be at that point. And somebody like David, please of Chicago, do not listen to somebody like David Kaplan, all right? No, it is okay to panic. Yeah, they won the World Series last year. That's awesome. I'm not a player, though. Like, if I want to be upset, I can be upset. And the fact is they're playing like horse crap. They've played like horse crap. And they have consistently been what their record says they are. They have been consistently says what their first inning has said they are. How many errors they do again. This is not a fluke. Paulie's right. They could turn it around tomorrow. At the end of this week. They sure as hell can.
I'm looking at Washington Nationals prospects right now just to see, they need a closer desperately. You trade Wade Davis, you try and get someone there, but yeah, you got to think pitcher. And I guess what I wanted to bring up for you with the Cubs trade this year, did it feel a little desperate on their part that they were all in on pitchers with their 2 picks at number 28 and number 30? It felt like a very un-Theo Epstein-like draft because they were drafting for a need rather than best available.
But I think that's the 2 things that it comes into. I think they were at a spot now where you are kind of drafting for what's needed. Because they are stacked when it comes to positional players. And they're always going to constantly replenish that. Like we said, one of the biggest problems Joe Madden has right now is he has to fill out a lineup every single day that he can mix and match, and his dyslexia picks up, and he's like, I'm going to put Ian Happ here, and I'm going to put Javi there, and John Jay right here. It's like,
I'm going to start the pitcher at the 8th slot because
just because I want an extra at bat coming up.
I do feel like with Joe Madden, there's a little bit of that, he's such a genius, and that gets to his head, and he feels like, I need to do things, I need to think outside of the box, I need to be that innovative manager, and it's sometimes I think it's just go and do your thing, just don't overthink it. It's the game that's been played for 150 years. There's simple things that just happen.
Yeah. So wrapping up with what has been a very unusual first half for the Chicago Cubs. I think generally this is just how I feel, and I think a lot of Cub fans might feel this way. It's frustrating, and it's almost a sense of joy or relief knowing that had they lost Game 7, and then this was the return, this would have been the worst season as a Cub fan ever.
Oh, yeah.
So there is that sense of, it could be worse.
You would think that the curse would still exist if that was the case.
It feels like it. Like, if this feels like a pre-World Series season. And that's what I've been trying to, as a fan, as a broadcaster, I've been trying to put my finger on is this how it normally feels for fans after a championship season? And that hangover is gone as a fan. That hangover is gone. So I don't think the players have it. So to wrap it up when it comes to this Cubs team, it's been a frustrating season. There's been lots of glimpses of what we think this team should be. There's still a lot of baseball left. There's still a lot of talent on this team.
So let me ask you, what's your biggest concern going forward with the Cubs this year?
Overvaluing their talent. Is Kyle Schwarber more than a DH in this league? Is Addison Russell the next coming of Derek Jeter? Is Javi Baez, the showman that we all think he is? Is Jason Hayward the talent that the Atlanta Braves brought in at 21 years old? We don't know. What makes me feel better, what gives me comfort, is that Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer are running this thing. And that they did get over that hump. And that they have done it before. And that they are only a move or two. And quite frankly, they're only a good week away from being right in it. But at what point does that week just not come? My bold prediction, real easy, they're going to trade Wade Davis and they're not making the playoffs.
And do you think there's going to be fan outrage?
Yes, because Cub fans are stupid. They don't understand these. There were Cub fans who wanted Chris Bryant up 2 weeks into the season. Yeah, a week before the season.
Homer Simpson, you idiot! He was the best one.
Yeah, you idiot. So, look, man, I can't believe we've done an hour of this. Let's do some quick major stuff. Aaron Judge has been killing it.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of prepared like the half season awards, I can't go as far to say as how it's going to end up by the end of the season, but the first half awards, Aaron Judge is easily your rookie of the year in the American League.
Yes,
I got him as the MVP in the American League as well. Right now, it's amazing that he's killing the ball, and it's amazing. Fun fact right here: most home runs by a Yankee rookie ever. Passing Joe DiMaggio just the other day.
Think about the rookies that have played for the freaking Yankees.
Yeah, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio,
Derek Jeter,
yeah,
Jesus,
yeah,
Christ.
And he's got the most home runs.
That's crazy.
Ever.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
He's what, 6'8"?
Yeah.
He's a monster. He's a monster.
You see the picture of him last week standing next to Jose Altuve?
Who I was gonna say Altuve has been kind of my the dark horse who I think might, if it wasn't the fact that he's going to get to Yankee, might be the MVP of Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
So I think that's one interesting thing. What do you got when it comes to guys on the mound?
On the mound, Cy Young Award winner right now in the American League, Chris Sale.
Yes.
But Irvin Santana's really making a case for himself this year that I think kind of came out of nowhere. But easily Chris Sale right now. However, Boston is not giving him run support in certain games, so it's a little bit of a wonky record for him. And and of course, like Chris Sale, he has those bad games every now and then. But he's easily been, I think, the best right now, and that's great for Boston. Manager of the year? I want to go with A.J. Hinch because of the utter dominance of the Houston Astros this year. But I feel like Paul Molitor is really squeezing a lot of talent out of those Twins that he should be considered. So it's either A.J. Hinch or Paul Molitor. And I think that's probably when it ends up at the end of the season, one of those two guys is going to end up being the manager of the year.
And then as we're wrapping this up, who...
National League?
Yeah.
Paul Goldschmidt is the MVP.
Yeah. Which is so crazy. At some point... The depth of first base in the National League.
Yeah,
dude.
Ryan Zimmerman was easily a good candidate there. I mean, with Eric Thames for the first 2 weeks of the season. Every year. Yeah, I mean, the first base is big.
Poor Anthony Rizzo.
Poor
Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah, and it's
a hell of a first baseman and can't crack that.
And I think the fans got it right this year for the All-Star.
I 100% agree with you, man. The fans, for the first time in a long time when it comes to All-Star voting in all sports, dude, they got it right this year.
Yeah.
I was so happy when I saw no Cubs in there.
Yeah.
Like, good.
You see what it looked like about a month ago, though? Like,
It was all Cubs?
Schwarber was like in a starting spot.
You're ruining my day. Don't
Okay.
tell me garbage.
Cy Young, I got Max Scherzer. Cody Bellinger, you're easily your rookie of the year for LA. And then your managers of the year, Craig Counsell for Milwaukee. But Torey Lovello for Arizona is definitely someone that needs to be considered as well. And if I think it's going to be one of those two guys when it's all said and done by the end of the season. I think Aaron Judge is going to win the home run derby away from Giancarlo Stanton, who's going to try and defend it at home.
Going to be so good.
And I'm going to call it now. I'm just going to pull a name out of the top of my head. The All-Star Game MVP will be Marcell Ozuna.
Oh, okay.
National League will win this year, and
World
it won't
Series.
matter.
Yeah, it won't matter this year. Thank God it doesn't.
Oh,
World Series.
I disagree on that. World Series. Houston and Washington. I think it goes to Washington.
I will go with Dodgers, Boston.
Ooh.
Dodgers in 6.
Okay.
Paul Chivari, this was awesome, dude. You ready for the second half of the season?
Yeah, I'm ready for the second half. Let's do this again soon when the Cubs and Sox play each other.
Yeah, you know what? All right, so we're doing producing on here. Instead of doing an over the end of the year thing, July 24th through the 28th, they're playing each other. So look out maybe around August, the beginning of the August month that we're going to do this show. Paul Chivari, dude, you've been awesome. You come from, we want to thank BruceSportsNet.com, Bruce Sports Network, for letting you have you on, man. I know you got a crazy thing. You got to go with the lady. You were doing. You had a concert yesterday that you were performing in. I know you're super tired. Thank you for coming down. And is there anywhere else you want to plug?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Paul Chivari, PaulChivari.
You guys know where to find me. We love you. We will see you next time. Enjoy baseball. Enjoy the All-Star Game.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Another day at the operator to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones,
Orlando, how you doing, buddy? Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
and all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.